world, and building really custom solutions for a small little division of them for their multinationals. Peter's our CTO. Gary runs kind of our business development and is a serial entrepreneur. Himself and his father had previously had a company that they ended up selling to Centec Learning, which was later acquired by Viacom, which was in the assessment arena, which was really helping the hard-to-serve population. And then finally, Kevin comes out of the human capital space, specifically around the staffing and recruiting space. And then we have a very kind of seasoned team of advisors, from individuals like Mike Hagan, some people that probably you know, John Parker. John was a former CEO, and Rich Dickinson, and people like that. So we have a very
you also mentioned that you periodically meet with Ray Bixler too.
Yeah, that's right. So Ray had we were supposed to meet with Ray today. So we're actually starting to explore some potential synergistic partnerships between Skill Survey and our platform. So, we've been talking to Ray, and we were actually going to start to have a brainstorming session with Cynthia over there around a lot of some of the analytics and components and how our platform could complement not only Skill Survey, but some of the strategy and direction they're going. They had just launched a product called the Q, which is a social enablement product. So, we're kind of exploring potentially. There's some synergies.
There's lots of synergies, and there's consistent vision, and there's perfect fit puzzle-wise.
Right.
Yeah. So Ray's on a board that I'm an observer of, because I'm an investor in a company called Career Minds.
Correct. Yeah. So. Yep. And through Gabriel. I know they invest into it, because we'll be talking with Gabriel later next month, and they also sit on Career Minds, and I guess Kevin Kleinschmidt is the person from Gabriel who does that.
I'm regularly seeing. Yeah, when I saw that you wanted an introduction to Richard, I thought, well, I could get you an introduction to Kevin, but it sounds like you've already connected.
Well, Mike Hagan actually did it, made the introduction for us, and we just actually got connected to those guys yesterday and coordinated a meeting. They I guess their book's out, but we're going to meet with them in July is when they want to meet. And Kevin happened to be on that thread.
But Next Stage Capital, have you talked to them at all?
We met Terry.
Years ago.
Probably a couple years ago, when we were I was in the kind of, this was sitting in my head, kind of a conceptual point, and Terry was pretty good in helping us kind of reframe the vision and how to actually, get the pitch kind of going, and
proper way to present it to the investor world.
Start thinking about presenting it to the investor world. And periodically we touched Terry, and then Terry's kind of gotten consumed into his CrossX platform, and we haven't really gone back and approached Terry or Rob in a while, and maybe it's time to go back.
I think it is. I know they're raising some money for a new fund.
Okay.
And I don't know when that new fund is going to be ready to deploy capital, but I know there will be another fund.
Okay.
I know Rob and Dan are going to continue to do that. I know Terry obviously knows the HR space pretty well.
Yep.
I don't know it's not entirely clear to me what his role is in the new fund, but I'm sure there will be a role.
Right.
But I would say, I can make that introduction, but you should definitely, if you've already spoken with Terry, you should circle back with him.
Yeah, sure. So, So just kind of jumping back in, so...
so let's go back in.
Yeah, no worries. Let's keep it fluid too. So probably about a month ago, the conference board, one of the leading groups out there, kind of did their annual survey, and the top kind of concern sitting on CEOs' minds was their human capital. And within their human capital, there's really three areas that they're really starting to focus in on and have major concerns around. And number one is what they call aligning their people, or what is more commonly called as employee engagement. And they really recognize that, less than, 2/3 of their workforce is actively disengaged. And so that's a concern to them. But more importantly, the second point is they recognize that they have very little insights into their existing workforce. So while the CEOs are making decisions around, do we acquire a company, do we, invest millions of dollars in this training or learning or, expand, they don't really even have good insight. They have very little insight into what their organization's capabilities are, or skills gaps, or what the talent gaps are. And then ultimately, the third thing that's sitting on their mind is there's kind of a pending talent drain, and that's in twofold. As kind of confidence gets more and more as the economy starts to stabilize, with 2/3 kind of disengaged, people that are sitting in the companies are going to actively leave their employers. They say 2 out of 3 employees are going to actively look once they feel comfortable to leave. And then more importantly is that the boomers are going to actively retire. And so really being a knowledge-based workforce, the intellectual property is going to walk right out the door of the organizations. And so being able to understand where those risks are and it is going to, is very critical to executives. And that it kind of shows that, at Boeing, 55% of their engineers are all, over 55 years. So they've got a big gap potentially, and there's a shortage of engineers. So really what CEOs are starting to lean on is they're starting to lean on their HR departments and HR leaders to start to act more like finance and really start to measure and monitor the workforce and what's the drivers and where can they optimize their workforce and get the maximum performance out of it. So within organizations, the average company, I'll call it America, has a minimum, an average company has 4 to 6 different systems, HR technologies that they've invested in, and it costs them on average about $1,400 per year per employee to maintain those systems, and that comes from PwC. But what this slide really demonstrates is kind of I'll call it, some of the challenge that companies have, that they've gone out, they've invested in all these systems, payroll, learning management, performance management, core HRISs, and then that could be duplicative because of mergers and acquisitions, so they have kind of this landscape. So there's no shortage of data within an organization. The challenge is that very few of the systems or very few companies have gotten to the point of integrating those systems together, so the data is pretty inaccessible. They're all in disparate systems. And then ultimately, within the organization, the workforce is changing. It's becoming much more of a do-it-yourself workforce. Give me the tools I need to do my job and get out of my way. And they're very much more mobile and much more social in how they want to work. And then ultimately, if there's organizations that are able to get access to their data, and are accessing it to get something, what we've even heard or seen is it's very time consuming. They've got teams of people, and they've gone out and purchased SharePoint or other tools, and they're trying to get to it, and it's additional costs and very burdensome and still not very easy, and it tends to be very much lagging data versus any kind of real-time data to be able to access. So in the HR technology space, it's a very kind of expanding and growing space, back to where CEOs have kind of opened up their purse strings for their HR leaders. So the HR technology spend is going to grow. The marketplace is scheduled to grow by the end of this year, 2015, to roughly about next year to about $8.5 billion. So there's significant growth and expanding, and really where that expansion is really happening is from back to those 3 concerns of CEOs are looking for their leaders to go out and uncover ways to be able to solve the problem around getting better insights, aligning their people, and understanding what's the risk around their talent drain. And that's really what is happening out there and what's driving the growth in HR technology. Besides it being a very active space from kind of a mergers and acquisition space. So what's the solution? Empower is a SaaS-based integrated human capital management platform that focuses on workforce analytics and performance. And really what Empower does is it enables organizations to the vast majority of their hiring, management, and promotion decisions to be driven by the data and let the data tell the story versus it being done based on gut personal experiences and kind of their corporate belief system. So really allowing to understand what the factors are that are unique to their organization that drives their performance, the retention, and the talent gaps. And ultimately, Empower will take kind of what it seems to be or appears to be the complex and hard to obtain answers and makes it simple, easy, and impactful while returning a minimum of 4 times the capital invested on the platform. So the platform's designed to be an enterprise platform that really touches from hire to measure. And really inside of it, it's got the embedded analytics that's driven with a dashboard look and feel. It is socialized and also gamified, so it's using game mechanisms to drive not only adoption of the platform from a user experience perspective, but into the social and performance management process, as well as into then being able to drive and measure from the analytics engine.
So who uses, supervisors or owners or management uses the tool, but are the employees actually on this as well?
Yeah, so great point.
Sorry, we have an open office. We have dogs here, and so I think the UPS person's here.
So,
hey, Dempsey.
So it is. It is
a UPS person.
So to your point, Frank, it is designed for all employees of the organization, and that's critical because back to the point earlier that I was making is that HR departments aren't built to be able to support the employees, and as you talk about the do-it-yourself workforce being more mobile, more social, that's exactly that. Give me the tools. So this is designed for all employees in the organization, and based on previously, as it stated, their roles of permission. It has all the roles-based permissions built into it so that they can basically, depending on who they are and where they are, what they see in their access into the system, what widgets they might have, it depends on based on their roles and permissions. So it's got embedded analytics engine built into the platform, an integrated performance management and feedback process. So what we would call a performance management 2.0 or 3.0. It does the traditional episodical kind of reviews, cascading goals, competencies that a large organization is going to still expect to have and comfort, and then also kind of the new approach of leveraging the gamification mechanisms to drive the competencies, the behaviors, and make it transparent daily, weekly, monthly through the socialized aspect as well. So in addition to what you see on this screen, what this demonstrates is how you can take something as complex as not only the core metrics that an organization wants, but take it from lagging to real-time to trending to descriptive to predictive analytics. And so in the screen here in the bottom, it demonstrates, when somebody's drilled through a widget, a widget would be something that you see. You can take something complex like a predictive analytic where companies don't think that maybe they have the right culture, the right people, or the right skills for people to be predictive, where they can look at a widget and see 3 factors such as employees' flight risk, employees at risk to leave, but they're capable of looking at performance, impact, and risk, and look at something and say, oh, Jerry here, click on it, and then understand the predictive reasonings and the factors that might be making Jerry at risk to leave.
So on that point, is part of your special sauce some algorithms that deliver that scoring, or
that's exactly right. So some of the special sauce is exactly that. So we've been for a while now. I've been in talks and working with Cornell University, which is the leading human resource kind of think tank and school in the world, and some of their professors to build out and leverage some new models, as well as the research and validity behind some of the models and algorithms around retention, attrition.
Okay, I understand. So they help you refine or commercialize some of their thinking in terms of what are the factors and how you would score those. and then you have different data feeds that big companies will typically have, and so you're able to overlay some of the metrics, all of the metrics, and KPIs depending on what data you have available. So the more data, and that's always
Yep.
I'm sure you go into these clients and say, hey, here's this sexy total view, and they say, love it, love it, love it, but then they really have to decide, well, how much effort do we want to put into presenting that data to you, because extracting that data is a lot of work.
Right, so, and then we'll show how we make it easy for them to get to the data, and really, even as the world moves, I think there's going to be a major paradigm shift, and you're already seeing it around the data component, that in the future, it's not just going to be the core data that they have today out of these systems, but it's going to be the unstructured data that they don't, that's happening, that's going to be critical, and that unstructured data is going to dwarf the amount of data that they already have in their system. So to that point, the way of thinking about, oh, I have to have perfect data and extract it, and what do I want to measure, that world's going to end very quickly. And when they start recognizing that their unstructured data is 5 times the scale to it, and is going to have an enormous amount of valuable nuggets in it, that's going to allow you to build.
Give me some examples of unstructured data.
So unstructured data would be, think about it, and we'll demonstrate it. The LinkedIn,
like
or
public Facebook posts,
public Facebook posts, LinkedIn, or tweets, or a social network within the company, our social component, or they could be using a tool that they integrate in, like Chatter or Yammer. And in there, people are putting all kinds of information that drives to potentially turnover, risk, all different types of things of, simple engagement, making the company better, where somebody is concerned about, hey, where do I find simple things like companies are spending tens of millions of dollars on call centers and HR shared services and money, and they're looking, just calling up to ask, where's the employee handbook found? They could know that by simply keywords, and machine learning could tell you, hey, your workforce is constantly looking for this. Here's a widget, go do it, improve your process. Now you just reduce costs and efficiencies and engagement within your workforce off unstructured data. That's very simplistic, but more importantly, that data could also be indicators of drivers of turnover, or defined skills, or leadership, or succession. Today a lot of these processes are driven based on, again, gut instinct, and people sitting around the table and saying, Sue's a future leader, let's put her in the leadership development. Joe over there seems quiet, he's a slacker. But the reality is Joe could be the ultimate leader. He could based on the social.
How would you determine that from unstructured data?
Well, so from example of, take those points, somebody could be asking questions, and Joe's constantly answering those questions quickly, efficiently, and correctly. So that's almost like being a mentor, and the mentor's leading towards potential leadership. It's also dividing skills and areas of expertise that maybe the company didn't even know that Joe has. So you're able to identify potential skills and areas from a career advancement out of Joe, all being driven out of that unstructured data. So those are just some simple examples that could be driven out of it. So
Keep going.
Going back, the platform's being built from the ground up, fully mobile enabled, so it's built off a responsive design, so it'll support all tablets, iOS, Android, and then any PC. So out of the gate, it will work on any type of device, and this is what the slide demonstrates. It's a true SaaS self-service admin. So within it, there's multiple ways back to that. How do I get my data? Out of the gate, a company can, through flat file, CSV, Excel, secure FTP, schedule and upload spreadsheets, map their data, or over time we will be building the connectors to the core HR systems out there. They'll have pre-built connectors, and they can just point and click their data, and we'll map. And based on the data that's connected to the system and scheduled, and the frequency that they want scheduled, we'll determine what widgets they see based on the data that they've supplied. So that's what drives it. So it's all done through kind of a simple what I call a 4-step process. So where are we today with kind of our milestones? We've got 3 early customers that have been helping us frame the development. They range from a technology, Silicon Valley technology company, to a small Silicon Valley technology company, to a life science consulting organization that actually does predictive analytics around sales force effectiveness and pricing, that wants to use it not only for their workforce potentially, but white label it as another kind of revenue stream to their kind of customers, since they're already doing it, and they focus on the life science pharma vertical. And then a large global engineering firm with roughly $3.5 billion and 13,000 employees that have been helping us frame the development. We have a full prototype that was built, and more front-end development than's built than what we'll be building in our initial builds has been built out, so front-end development. We have a team of an onshore-offshore team that's building, and we're doing bi-weekly releases now. So we'll get to a point next month where the platform will have enough of the builds to be built. We'll start to stabilize that, and then those early customers will really start pounding away, probably latter part of this summer, pounding away on the platform, giving us feedback around some of the metrics and things that they wanted built into it for them. And we'll be moving into a beta phase into the fall. And those beta customers will be, customers that are paying us, start to pay us revenue. We're already in discussions with multiple.
So when you started the conversation, so I'm getting a little hazy. So you're building this version. This is your ground up 2.0 version. Is there a 1.0 that's on another platform that you're bringing the register for? Because you mentioned some clients that you have or customers that you have.
No. In the beginning, sorry, Frank. I was explaining how we had the legacy, what I call our legacy business that we started as Corcentive, and then Empower is kind of what I see. Is this right?
This is the. I got it. Okay.
Empower, and then
that's where you get all your expertise from. Now, do you still have that legacy? I mean, you
yes.
still getting revenues from the legacy business?
Yes, that's how we've been funding everything up to date, and I'll
trying to now accelerate the development and release.
Exactly.
Exactly right.
You've raised some money so far. I mean, on your tear sheet, I remember I thought it said you'd raised like $1.5 million.
No, that's what we're looking to raise. We're looking to raise.
That you're looking to raise.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
Keep going.
So we'll move into beta, probably six clients or so in the fall. We have a decent pipeline, a significant pipeline of beta customers that range from, Fortune 500 to, medium-sized businesses. So additionally, as I explained, we've got an onshore-offshore team, roughly 15 people building it, and I just kind of walk through what we are. So the sales and marketing side, it's an enterprise sale, typical kind of entry point is your CHRO, Chief Human Resource Officer, Senior VP of HR, or in a small business, it's been the COO, or medium-sized business has been kind of our entry points into it. It's based on a price per employee per month of roughly $5 per month or $60 per year.
And how many employees are in a medium-sized business?
Roughly
medium-sized target.
3,000.
That's right. It's all about headcount, right?
It's roughly 3,000 is what we've.
3,000 is medium.
Yep.
And large are the Fortune 1000.
Yeah, I mean, really, large is when you get over 5,000. It's defined by large as over 5,000, but yeah, you would.
That's still in our sweet spot.
Right. We define the sweet spot in this too is basically 1,000 to 15,000 employees. That doesn't mean that Tyco or somebody else won't have a need for it. We just see a underserved sweet spot where they don't have the resources for many reasons, from HR technology.
Yep. I understand. I work with large companies all the time.
Yeah. So
I understand it.
So
but you just go back to the other slide though. So